Two people, same income, same city, same starting line at 25. Person A reads one book a year, keeps the same job for a decade out of fear of change, and tells anyone who'll listen that the wealthy just got lucky. Person B gets rejected from 3 business ideas before the 4th one works, ignores advice from broke friends, and treats every paycheck like a decision, not a reward. 10 years later, Person A is still waiting for luck to show up. Person B built it. This is Power Chronicles. Today, we're not talking about what makes people rich. We're talking about the 10 habits that quietly guarantee someone never will be, and how to make sure none of them are running your life. Every example in this video comes with real numbers, not vibes, not motivation poster logic. Because the gap between rich and broke isn't mysterious, it's measurable. Let's break it down. Rule 1. Fear of failure reason. 1. People stay broke, being too scared of failure to do anything. Fear of failure isn't just an emotion, it's a financial cost. Because inaction has a price tag too. Someone who wants to start a side business but never does loses more than the business itself. They lose every year of compounding that business could have generated. If a side venture could realistically produce even $10,000 a year in extra income, and that income gets invested at 8% annually, 10 years of hesitation isn't just $100,000 in missed earnings, it's closer to $150,000 once compounding is factored in. Failure costs money, but avoiding the attempt entirely costs more, silently, every single year. Rule 2. Taking advice from unsuccessful people reason. 2. Taking financial advice from people who haven't built any wealth themselves. This sounds obvious, but it's the single most common leak in most people's 20s. Your well-meaning friend who's $20,000 in credit card debt is not the right person to ask about starting a Roth IRA. Your coworker who's never invested $1 isn't the right person to ask. Whether the stock market is too risky. Here's a simple test. Before taking financial advice, ask, does this person's own financial life reflect the outcome I want? If the answer is no, the advice, however confident it sounds, is coming from someone navigating the same fog you are. Rule 3. Focusing on saving instead of earning reason. 3. Focusing entirely on saving instead of earning. Saving has a hard ceiling. You can only cut expenses so far before you're cutting into things that matter. Earning has no ceiling. Someone earning $45,000 a year who aggressively cuts spending might free up an extra $200 a month. Someone who instead spends 6 months building a skill that gets them a $65,000 job frees up an extra $1,600 a month, instantly and permanently, growing every year after with raises. Saving protects money you already have. Earning creates money you don't yet have. Most people who stay broke never make that distinction. Rule 4. Assuming rich people just got lucky reason 4. Assuming rich people just got lucky. Luck is comforting because it removes responsibility. If wealth is random, there's nothing to learn from it. But wealth building follows patterns that show up over and over: consistent investing, skill building, calculated risk, delayed gratification. Someone who invests $300 a month starting at 25 and stops at 35, just 10 years of contributions, then nothing, can end up with more at 65 than someone who starts at 35 and contributes $300 a month for 30 straight years, purely because of how many decades that early money had to compound. That's not luck, that's arithmetic. and the person who understood it 10 years earlier. Rule 5. Failing to make any investments. Reason 5. Failing to make any investments at all. Cash under the mattress, or in a low-interest checking account, is a decision, even if it doesn't feel like one. It's the decision to let inflation quietly erode your money instead of putting it to work. $20,000 sitting uninvested for 15 years, losing roughly 3% a year to inflation, ends up with the purchasing power of about $12,800. That same $20,000 invested at an average 8% return becomes roughly $63,000 in the same 15 years. Same money, same amount of time. A $50,000 difference, created entirely by the decision to invest or not. Rule 6. Not setting financial goals. Reason 6. Not setting any financial goals. A budget with no target is just a record of what already happened. A financial goal, $50,000 saved by $500 a month in investments by next year, gives every dollar a job before it arrives. People with a specific written savings target consistently save more than people who just try to save what's left over, because a number to hit changes behavior in advance, not just in hindsight. Vague intentions produce vague results. Specific numbers produce specific outcomes. Rule 7. Spending more than they earn. Reason 7. Spending more than they earn. This is the most direct path to staying broke, and credit makes it dangerously easy to hide for years. Someone earning $60,000 a year who spends $65,000 a year isn't broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because of a $5,000 annual gap, usually filled with debt at double-digit interest. Close that same $5,000 gap and redirect it into investments instead. And over 20 years at 8% average returns, that single change is worth roughly $247,000. The gap between rich and broke is often smaller than people think. Just a few $1,000s a year, moving in the wrong direction. Rule 8. Constantly making excuses. Reason 8. Constantly making excuses. I don't make enough to invest. The market's too risky right now. I'll start when things settle down. Every one of these delays the only variable that actually matters for compounding: time. Starting with just $50 a month at 22 and investing consistently until 62, 40 years at an 8% average return builds a portfolio worth roughly $175,000 from contributions totaling only $24,000. The excuse, "I don't have enough to start," almost always costs more than starting small immediately. Rule 9. Not learning new things. Reason 9. Not learning new things. Income is downstream of skill, and skill has a shelf life. Someone who stops learning after their first job title tends to plateau in earnings for a decade or more. Someone who invests even a few hours a week into a high-demand skill, data analysis, project management, a technical certification, tends to see raises and job offers compound the same way money does. A single certification that unlocks a $10,000 raise, invested rather than spent, is worth over $100,000 across a career once compounded. Skills are appreciating assets. Most people just don't treat them that way. Rule 10. Lacking self-discipline. Reason 10. Lacking self-discipline. This is the rule underneath every other rule. Discipline is what makes someone actually invest the $300 instead of talking about it. It's what makes someone stick with a boring index fund for 20 years instead of chasing the latest trend. The math behind every example in this video only works if the behavior repeats monthly, for years, without exception. A perfect financial plan followed for 3 months does almost nothing. An average financial plan followed for 20 years builds real wealth. Discipline isn't the exciting part of getting rich. It's the entire mechanism. 10 reasons. None of them require bad luck. None of them require a rigged system working against you specifically. They're patterns, repeatable, and just as reversible as they are common. Stop letting fear stop the attempt. Stop taking advice from people without results. Earn more, not just spend less. Drop the idea that wealth is random. Start investing, even small. Set an actual number. Spend under what you earn. Cut the excuses. Keep learning. And build the discipline to repeat all of this for years, not weeks. If this changed how you're thinking about your own numbers, hit subscribe. Power Chronicles breaks down the real mechanics of wealth every week. No fluff, just the math that actually moves your net worth. Which one of these 10 is hitting closest to home for you? Tell me in the comments. See you in the next one.